previously on Avatar.
Yo soy boricua y se nota en mi hablar, en mi caminar y mi paladar. Yo te voy a contar algo. Somos puertorriqueños, seamos blanquitos, prietitos o trigueños, sea yo mulato o sea yo un colorado. Nuestro bisabuelo era un fajao. Yo soy boricua para que tú lo sepas. Somos agüeybaná, somos los dingas y somos los mandingas. Somos los íberos y los celtas. Y ay bendito, si es que todos los íberos y los riberas tienen una abuela que se decía que era taína. Buen día, sea bienvenido usted a este adiestramiento donde le estaremos brindando las herramientas necesarias para ascender al puesto que han solicitado muchos de ustedes o ya hayan sido referidos por su jefe. Entonces su patrono cada mes nos contrata para este proceso y ¿verdad? Cada vez nosotros le respondemos con excelencia en servicios de reclutamiento y adiestramiento.
Mire, para usted llegar a la finca en el campo tiene usted que subir por la montaña en la carretera principal 185 y cuando ve el cruce tírese a mano izquierda porque si lo sigue a mano derecha te desvías hacia las piñas, hacia tu sabes, y para luego estar perdida por juncos por allá en la 30. Si eres de Loíza Aldea le respondiste, ellos no, mi país es prieto de piñones y mi mamá es mulata de colobó. Yo ya tengo que irme, yo ya voy a arrancar, pero yo mejor me quedo, por como tú me acabas de mirar. Aquí se sabe quién somos, a mi mamá le puede preguntar, a nuestra abuela le decían negras de apodo, y la tuya, igual está. Ayer me dijiste negro, y hoy te voy a contestar, mi abuela se sienta en la sala, y tu abuela, ¿a dónde está? ¿Por dónde tú quieres que yo coja? Me metí por la parada 18. Pero ¿por qué tú no me dijiste que era por playita? Es que hoy era que se podía. Cualquier cosa mañana no se puede porque voy a estar haciendo diligencia por el reparto metropolitano. Dame acá el mandato. Indica que yo me quedo con el canto. Diles que yo me quedé con los cosos y las pacas. Que no vuelvan. Papi, yo le prometí a Menor que los perros míos son leales en un mundo donde la lealtad no existe. Y yo tengo a mi doña cómplice, mi trambo. ¿Cómo no la voy a tener si esa es mi reina? Si de Cora somos dos calles, eliminamos los trangarangas que están puestos para el nebuleo. Así que más vale que no te lamban, mi amor, que yo no me voy a repetir. O te la vaciamos para rápido. Aquí no nos importa si entendiste o no, vos. Es que si te lambes, te la vaciamos para rápido, vos. Dímelo, gordo, vos. Indica, varón.
Welcome to part 2 of the accents of Puerto Rico that you probably didn't know. Remastered. Accents are different modes of pronunciation, the result of producing sounds of speech, including articulation, stress, and intonation. These are the top facts from part 1 of this video. But first, let's answer some of our viewer questions. Note, if your town, region isn't mentioned, it probably falls into the general accent category. One of our friends commented he thought Puerto Ricans speak Bozal Spanish. It is said that they brought some African slaves at one point that spoke Bozal Spanish that comes from Cuba, Uruguay, and other parts of South and Central America. As of this video, I have never seen it influence modern day Boricua accent. Most, even our Afro-Boricua, were arriving with their own accents and dialects. The same thing can be said about other non-African groups. Puerto Rican Spanish is Spanish Castilian intelligible with other Spanish-speaking countries and has been compared to and also derives from South Spain, Andalusia, and mainly Canarian accents and all of Spain. Boricua Spanish could be the oldest Spanish in the New World, only second to Santo Domingo. The three base accents of BORIKÉN with Caco accent as a mascot are the general Puerto Rican accents, P.R.O mountain accents, and the Loíza coastal city Afro-Boricua Caribbean accent. There is also many other subcultures that may influence the speech of a Boricua even at the individual level. within established social groups and communities. Accent is always influenced by these subcultures, or what's trending. One of our viewers commented that the Costero accent is not the Dominican accent. That's correct. Coastal and Loíza accent is our own Boricua accent influenced by Afro-Boricua communities around the island. My answer is, I as a Puerto Rican can only give you my closest comparison. View my example in the beginning. The singing of Loíza and Coastal City Afro-Boricua Caribbean can carry a similar singing to Dominicans. But it's the Sub-Saharan African influenced RD and PR have in common, most likely. Original Jibaro accent and Caco accents may be different, but a Jibaro man can also be Caco, which is also the biggest subculture. Maleanteo Boricua lifestyle or thug life and underground music such as reggaeton intertwined. A person can be a part of many subcultures, and together with genetics and the type of upbringing can determine a raspy voice or a soft voice, muffled or clear, extended or short, divided paused speech or flowy one breath quickened speech, flat or dynamic accents, a deep voice or a high pitch. It's historically accepted some Puerto Rican accents are more influenced by Taino native Caribbeans or Afro-Boricua or both than others, such as the Jibaro, Loíza and coastal and urban regions and other communities. Puerto Rican accents can sometimes be solidified by subcultures and popular musical genres rather than geographic locations. Households with kids that listen to reggaeton will most likely adopt a version of the Caco accent in conjunction to their regional accent. Therefore, subcultures strongly influence individuals. Household and geographic location aside. More examples of the Puerto Rican accent influenced by subcultures. A Boricua that identifies with salsa dancing music above all else is more likely what Boricuas call a Cocolo. This culture predominant in the 90s and back when reggaeton was about in infant stage. In the past, Cocolo was most likely in the place where Caco is now with thug lifestyle influences. But today, Cocolo and Jibaro could be similar in lifestyle and maybe the same people. Many subcultures and their impact on the way these can be the result to portrayal and role-playing like theater, poetry, art, and so on. These would also share rural and mountain origins in common, and with the exception that Cocolo may emphasize more onto the tropical scene as well and other Puerto Rican folklore. It may also reach Afro communities. Cocolo and Jibaro can be loose, tropical, country, or correct Puerto Rican speech. The Jibaro can be pitchy and has levels of nasalness, but the pitchiness and the nasalness may also overlap with the non-colloquial variety. Sounds more clean whether deep or high-pitched. The loose Jibaro talk can be some of the fastest forms of Puerto Rican accent and more dynamic. Note, I'm not saying a Cocolo has an accent in particular, but this helps explain how Cocolo as a subculture can affect the accent of a Jibaro, versus if that Jibaro were to be Caco and not Cocolo. Whereas a Jibaro and a Cocolo with no Caco influence will sound less of the Caco variety and more general but loose yet strict, dynamic Puerto Rican accent. This won't apply to everybody, for a Cocolo may very well carry a Caco accent. However, in general, Jibaro life is often more associated with Cocolo subculture, but it's also noteworthy to add most tropical subcultures overlap with each other. Therefore, many communities would be also very much involved. Que alguien me diga cómo se olvida, cómo se arranca para siempre un amor del corazón. Esto no es balada, esto no es rock, esto es salsa, son y rumba. Esto no es balada, esto no es rock, esto es salsa, son y rumba. Nasal sound is associated more with deep country, mostly more mature folk. Genetic, health, family, subcultures, region, and even government intervention and policies are factors for accent. But Puerto Ricans can go from a loose casual to a more serious metropolitan tone. This Cocolo example adds on to how subcultures can change a whole nation, such as Cocolo to reggaeton, which in fact harbor different Puerto Rican accents. Americanized influences can be different and highly subconsciously foreign.
Yeah, eso estuvo bien gnarly, bro. Rankeado, loco. Consigue Uber Eats. Quiero mi sándwich con bacon. Y, que estoy jugando mi PlayStation y estoy on fire.
Porque conseguimos franchising y ahora tenemos que correr nuestro business y competir contra los otros.
Ay, Bridge, mana, estoy dando vueltas por todo el parking y no encuentro espacio. Ay, mana, le estoy dando vueltas al sitio en la Mini Cooper y de que no te he visto la cara. ¿Y el location pa' cuándo? Oye, Gilly, coge to the door y busca la pizza. Cuando vayas para el store, give me a gallon of milk and check the date. No puedo hacer nada que estoy en mi break de coffee, so forget about it. You going back to New York? Porque yo voy para la isla.
Along with Cocolo accent, these communities prefer to say English words with some level of Americanized accent. For except the understanding of the Puerto Ricans born and raised in the US, who will have some difficulties with the accents at first. These groups can be seen in the metropolitan area, whether it's the Caco reggaeton culture to your cartoons, anime and cosplay communities. These are exceptionally Americanized. Puerto Ricans permit the exacerbation of English acculturation without regulations and legal barriers of attempts to conserve Puerto Rican culture. Spanglish is severely hindered Puerto Rican speech and accents.
Hey, amén, oh my gosh, bro. Yo estaba como que guiando por la avenida y como que
Many island Puerto Ricans may lack the ability to express an idea in one language and one accent. These Puerto Rican subcultures carry American accents. Academic scholar accents may be a knowledge or higher class portrayal. There may also be instances where isolation and lack of verbal interaction can affect the accent, but that doesn't mean the subject's accent is any lesser Boricua. Some Boricua children watch too much Mexicanized and neutral or Central South American accent TV shows like The Discovery Kids.
Hola amigos, ¿quieren jugar?
Other Puerto Rican accents that are associated with portrayal are cinematography, journalism, y farandula. Example when Boricua Ricky Martin neutralizes his metropolitan accent to a more international accent.
Estoy feliz de ser quien soy y de llevar mi herencia boricua. Entre mis pasatiempos disfruto del baile de todo tipo, disfruto de el arte en su versión más pura.
Se anticipa una tormenta tropical al noreste de Puerto Rico con ráfagas de vientos de 30 a 68 millas por hora, suavemente entrando por Ceiba y Fajardo. Yo soy Abaqueto Neboriqué. Volvamos a ver qué está pasando allá en el estudio con Noriega.
When Puerto Ricans that move to some parts of Florida adopt noticeable Cuban influence, America Latina inspired Puerto Ricans who enjoy South American influences or other Caribbean accents. The Taino Boricua accent is used amongst Puerto Rican who carry Taino language tradition from BORIKÉN. Its accent is Native American in essence. However, Taino language of Puerto Rico BORIKÉN may also adopt Jibaro influences, including our Jibaro Boricua accent. And now, more important facts about Puerto Rican accent. There could be Puerto Ricans that use different accents for different circumstances. Caco culture has been very standardized. San Juan and the metropolitan area can have the metropolitan accent, Cosero Afro-Boricua, general Puerto Rican accent, and a widespread of Caco, but it's also island-wide. Some accents, including some southwestern people, may be slightly influenced by Taino people from Rincon all the way to Ponce. Some suggest some forms of speech in some towns were influenced by immigrators from Italy, Corsica, France, and Portugal. This may also suggest some accent could have been passed down as well. All accents and forms of speech will be vernacular to the most correct forms of general Puerto Rican accent and metropolitan, which will be formal. Boricua Spanish was vulgar, but is now official. Spanish from Spain, 1493, influenced by native Caribbean and Afro-Caribbean and other Mediterranean peoples. This Spanish is creolized by time and rich history. Puerto Rican Castilian is Old Castilian and used in Andalusia. Celtiberians, part Eurasian, Baso-Eurasian, and Shemitic, through Carthage and the Maghreb and so on, which is vulgarized Latin that comes from Latino Faliscan, which is Italic that is in the Indo-European language family. Also, part Arawak language family from the Taino Iñeri, and also some from Caribes, Eyeri vocabularies, and some most likely West African words for broader understanding on the accent's historical background. In conclusion, the Puerto Rican accent is the accent of a nation that harbors the influence of Spanish, Africans, and Taino that then created a hurricane of competing subcultures that enriches the country of BORIKÉN even to this day. This is Abaquetone Boricé. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This was the Accents of Puerto Rico that you probably didn't know, Part 2, Remastered. Only here in Abaquetone Boricé. I'll see you on the next video.